Good evening. I'd like to call our Municipal Planning Commission meeting to order November 7th, 2016 at 7:15 p.m. First item on the agenda is the opening prayer and pledge. If you would all pray with me. Thank you, Lord, for this evening, and thank you for each and every one of us here. And we would like to ask you that we make good decisions for our community and just be with us as we make these decisions. In Christ's name, amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I'd like the record to show that Mr. Ron Rowe and Mr. Jake Bleak are alternates tonight, standing in for Don Lavorne and Mike Mitchell. And we'd like to welcome Tyler Desjardins. He is a college student who's up here with us tonight and would like to see how all this process works. On as far as the agenda goes, we will be voting to swap 8.1 and 8.2 and add 6.3 to set a bond for Hardee's.
Move to approve. Second.
Have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Number 3, citizens' comments.
And there are no citizens' comments tonight, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, if Tyler is up to speaking to us for a few minutes here, I'd like to give him the floor for a few minutes. Let him know what his studies are leading him toward. You feel like talking, Tyler? Yes, sir. He is my
Tyler,
guest
is your
tonight.
mic on? There we go.
My name is Tyler Desjardins. I'm not just in college just yet, but I'm trying to prepare to be a real estate developer. I love everything real estate and love seeing things being built. And I know that if you want to see things from the beginning process, this is where to go. And I would love to just continue learning more about it. I had come to the staff review meeting that Mr. Hall had invited me to. I believe that was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I learned so much from that, and it was just awesome to be able to learn from that. And I really look forward to learning more. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you. Item number 4, approval of the minutes. 4.1, October 11th, 2016 workshop.
Move to approve. Second.
First and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4.2, October 11th, 2016 regular meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Number 5, recommendations. There are none. Number 6, bonds. 6.1, utility open cut on Crowcut Road, letter of credit for $10,000. Letter of credit expires December 9th, 2016. Tony Cavender asking for this to be released. Mr. Hall?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have checked the road cut and the paving, and I do recommend to release it. It looks good, and so.
Move to approve the release. Second.
We have a first and a second, and I'd like the record to show that Mr. Cavender's here representing. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6.2, Heartland Reserve Incorporated, Section 4, letter of credit to cover the roads, sidewalks, and storm drainage. Planning Commission set the bond for $609,000 on on October 13th, 2015. Planning Commission voted to reduce the bond to $365,400 on October 11th, 2016. Developer renewed bond, but asking for bond to be reduced. Letter of credit expires December 1st, 2016. Mr. Hall?
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Owen did make a trip to Fairview to review the Heartland Reserve, and I will read you his remarks. I made a site visit this afternoon to Heartland Reserve, and based on the work progress to date, I would recommend the bond amount be reduced to $262,000. This amount represents the remaining work to be done, including the final asphalt surface layer on the roads, all the sidewalks, some grading work associated with the stabilization of the detention pond and drainage ditches behind lots 26 through 42. His recommendation is to reduce it to $262,000.
Move to approve recommendation of the engineer. Second.
Madam Chairman, before we vote on this, we would need to include also in that if the $262,000 bond is not posted prior to December the 1st, 2016, the authorization to call the bond.
I'd like to amend my motion to include calling the bond if not completed.
Okay, and we have a representative here.
Yes, we
Thank
do.
you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Larry, did we need a second on that? Yeah. We did have a second on the amendment? I don't think we did.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't think we did. No.
6.3,
Wait a minute, hold on. Do I need to restate restate it since we didn't get a second on it?
No, did you have a second originally, or was this
we did have a second originally, and then the
But
vote.
not an amendment? Okay.
yeah, on the amendment, you gotta vote on the amendment first and call it if it's not, posted by December 1st. Or just restate your motion, including reduction.
I thought,
I
yeah, I
did
thought
restate the motion.
that's how he restated the motion.
Okay, just making sure we're,
Same second, Matt Beata. Okay. 6.3, set a bond for Hardee's. Mr. Hall?
Did you vote?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't remember hearing it.
I didn't, y'all did vote, right?
Okay.
We did vote.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, Hardee's. Will also made this recommendation, a maintenance bond in the amount of $12,500 for the Hardee's site. The purpose of the maintenance bond is to ensure that landscaping materials installed do not die or significantly deteriorate for a period of 1 year from the date that the permanent use and occupancy permit is issued. The maintenance bond also covers the road cuts and patches that were necessary for the utility service lines. $12,500.
Wayne, didn't we have a change on that, came to the board from the tree board to go to 3 years on that?
No, sir, it's not approved yet.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, if we're going, and I have no problem with adding this, but we have an ordinance that says if you're gonna add something that wasn't on the agenda, you first have to conduct a hearing to establish that there's an exigent circumstance as to why it would be added to tonight's agenda rather than carried to next month's agenda. If the, I don't know what the exigent circumstance is, that we need to have.
Didn't have a
something.
hearing first.
Yes, but I don't know what their exigent circumstance is. Maybe it may affect their opening, or
They do.
they can tell us what the effect would be if it's had to be carried to next month, and then you can vote on it.
Stephen?
I don't have any problem with it being added, we just need to have the hearing to see what circumstance warrants adding it to the agenda.
It is going to affect their opening. Yep.
And that's your reason, you need a motion to add it to the agenda so that Hardee's won't affect their opening, and vote on that, and then vote on the bond.
Okay. Okay, so, we need to add this to the agenda so that the Hardee's opening is not delayed. I need a motion.
Move to approve it, adding to the agenda. Second.
Have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Now you're back on the motion for the bond, I apologize for.
No, no,
putting
thank
that in
you.
there, but we need
Thank
to
you.
get it done properly.
Stephen, what's your last name?
Last name is Laird. Laird?
Can you step up for just a second?
L,
Laird,
Sorry.
L-A-I-R-D.
okay, L-A-I-R-D. I just need that to be in the record.
How's this gonna affect the opening other than the contractor turning it over? Their opening date's what, 15th, 16th?
I just need the bond in place before they open up on the 14th. The maintenance bond.
Okay, my only question was the 3 years that we were.
Well, Scott Collins has asked for that not to be put on the agenda just yet. He asked me to bring it
Okay,
back
well,
later.
That's information I didn't have. So
Yeah,
that's okay.
you were not at the one meeting, I think, and that he asked me not to do it, so.
Move to approve.
Yeah.
Second.
Well, what would be the start date? Because if it's a year, what would be the starting date of that bond? The day you receive it?
Day I issued a CO, permanent CO has been issued.
Okay.
I think, what, Friday? Thursday or Friday?
Okay, we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Number 7, old business. There is no old business. Number 8, new business. 8.1, discuss and or take action on rezoning of property located at 2480 Fairview Boulevard from RS40 residential to CG Commercial General, map 46, parcel 69.00, 13.39 acres, Craig and Janet Cropper owners. Let the record show that the Croppers are here.
Move to approve. Second.
Have a first and a second. Would we like to read the engineer's comments?
Yes, the proposed zoning change to CG Commercial General is different from the designation shown on the proposed land use map. The proposed land use map categorizes the subject parcel as RM, which is medium-density residential. If the PC recommends for approval, an amendment to the proposed land use map would need to occur. That's all.
Okay. I have a first and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Question.
Go ahead.
Do you currently, the owners, could you step up to the podium? Do you currently have a contract on this, or is it?
No.
So there's no future plan?
No future project plans, no contract to sell it or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make a statement that with the shape of this piece of property, that it encroaches into a lot of the residential. And that even though if it stayed commercial, the tree board would have a discussion about buffers. The proper way to buffer the residential to commercial is to have a different type of residential development, like multifamily. So it's really difficult to say that the whole parcel could go commercial when the back half of it is more in relation to residential than commercial. I could see this if you had some company or business come in and part of it be residential, part of it be commercial, which would be like, sort of like a PUD type. But I'm just concerned about all those landowners, single-family homes, residential homes there abutting up to the commercial. So I'm just making that statement. Thank you.
I have a first and a second. Any more discussion?
I have one thing. The parcel, as we're looking at this from Highway 100 to the right, is that going to remain RM40 for the time being? So in other words, are we going to have an RM40 sandwich between two CCs?
Yeah.
The property,
Mr. Cropper, is that,
it's already zoned commercial. The property, if you're looking at the property, the house to the right is already zoned commercial.
Yeah, the 1.89 acre right here between the substation
Yes,
and this
correct.
property?
that belongs
Yes.
to Mr. Cropper?
So that is already, well, it's, according to this map, it's RM40. It's not CC now.
I don't think it's updated.
Do you think this is wrong?
This is the land use map. So this was the land use map created the last time it was approved 2012, showing the future designation of what, the future vision. And so that's just the lane, that's not the actual current zoning layout. This would be the land use map approved in 2012 of what considerations they pictured these areas being.
Our zoning map shows it being commercial, and they're
Yes.
on the wall in there. I'm not sure when it was changed, but it does show it's being commercial.
And there are some pretty, just a statement, there are some pretty big setbacks when you have that commercial residential, I think it's like 100 foot or something, from your commercial property line to a residential. But your statement you made is great, but then if you split the property, it's just hard, is it accessible on the backside, you know? We had one similar come up, we talked about, it'd be so much easier if it was under contract and it had a project coming forward, so we knew the plan, we knew what was coming, rather than just kind of putting it out there and then seeing what comes.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Let's do a roll call, please. Mr. Dowdy? Okay.
Nay.
Nay.
Yes?
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do I see 6 to 1, 2, 4? 6 to 4? Is that what you got?
There's only 9.
9, I was sure.
Yeah, hope there's not 10 up here.
I'm sorry.
No,
I think it's 5. I think it's 5 to 4.
Sorry, 5 to 4. I was counting Tyler. No. 5 to 4, yes. Am I right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to 4, yes, so it passes.
Just raise our hands.
Yeah. Just to double check.
mean,
I was just
right?
trying to help Sharon.
No, I'm just saying, I think we should. Why don't we raise our hands?
Okay, okay. All in favor? All opposed?
Looks like 5.
That's good.
The motion passes. Okay. Okay, 8.2, discuss and or take action on infrastructure construction plans for Horn Tavern Road subdivision, map 22, parcel 15.00, 22.98 acres, Duke and Duke LLC owners. Mr. Beata, would you like to read the engineer's comments?
Yes, number 1 on the engineer's comments for new item 8.2 is, please revise sheet C10 to include the appropriate number of proposed lots, which is 17. And then goes on to say, if the PC desires to set bond amounts for this development, it is recommended that the reclamation bond amount be $386,000 and the performance bond amount be $914,000, which is 125% of the engineer's estimate of $731,000. That's all, the comments.
Thank you.
I recuse myself from.
I'll make a motion for
participation in the vote.
approval.
Let the record show that Tim Mangrum recused himself. Aye.
Do you have questions?
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Did you all read the bond amount? Okay, what was that?
The total bond amount for the performance bond, engineer recommended $914,000, which is 125% of his estimate of $731,000.
And reclamation bond of 386.
So on the 900, is there a basis given for that?
The man that could answer that stuff is not here.
So what happens if it's just, if you approve it tonight, what happens if it's not just correct? If there's issues with it?
I recall one other time where there was an issue that we gave Will the approval to move forward after there was some communication. I think it was about 1.5 years ago or so, but
Mr. Hall?
He would have to bring it back next month, you know. In the meantime, I'll try to find out and make sure that this is not a typo.
Okay,
But I didn't know anything about it
Well-
until 5:30 this afternoon.
What happens if it is discovered that it's incorrect?
Then you ask for a reduction to what is correct or an alteration.
Okay.
I mean, these bonds aren't cast in stone. The planning commission has the authority. If there's a mistake made, then Will looks at it and says, okay, the 125% comes out of subdivision regulations. But if he says my calculation was wrong, it should be whatever it is, then you amend the bond. You amend the bond amount required.
So can we approve it and put a recommendation for it to be recalculated or calculated again to make sure?
You can approve it subject to to it being recalculated, but the bond's going to be posted before your work's done.
Is there an issue with your bond limit?
well, with all due respect, I mean, I do this several places and have done it for many years, and I calculate this to be about $50,000 a lot for infrastructure, not including sewer, not including land. And that's really high. I mean, if you could imagine the land, what might cost $20,000, and then WADC puts some kind of bond in for whatever, and it comes up to be $70,000 a lot. I mean, can you imagine that land and infrastructure would be $70,000 on a lot that you might sell a $300,000 home on? That's like over almost 30% of the cost of the lot.
So your contention is that
It's way high.
the bond amount that he has set is 3 times what you estimate
I mean, I would
the
guess it to
value of
be,
the work.
rule of thumbs are on a per lot basis and on a per linear foot of road basis. I can't remember the exact amount of linear feet. It's something like maybe 1,500 feet. And I would guess maybe if you had road, water, sewer, storm, everything, and it might be $400 a feet, and that's $600,000, which is $300,000 less than what you're asking, and we don't have storm sewer, curb and gutter, sidewalks, and sanitary sewer. This is like a road, swales, some storm pipe, a detention pond. I mean, I know you don't have to rationalize all this right here, but it just seems like it's really high, yeah. And I'd be glad to call Will in the morning and ask him.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a problem asking for
You can approve
recalculation.
this subject to verification between him and Will, and whatever that figure is, then he'll have to post that bond before, if that's $940,000, whatever it is, he'll have to post that bond before he can start to work.
Yeah, that's what I was
You wouldn't have
referring.
to have another meeting, or, I mean, if he wants to, they can work it out and bring it back next month. That's your call.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, I mean, I don't calculate bonds, but you can approve it subject to the verification of the amount of the bond and that bond being posted before any work starts.
So moved.
Yeah, I think since Will's not here.
I still need to say something.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm repeating for Ms. Sharon, this board can authorize this gentleman and Will to verify if it's 941,000 or whatever it is, that's what it is.
Sure.
But subject to the verification of the bond amount between him and the city engineer. And then that bond be posted prior to any work beginning. That way he won't have to waste a month.
I think that would be the proper thing to go with it. That way it doesn't delay any progress that they're trying to make out through there.
I have no idea.
So
but
if I
this-
can, I'd like to make a motion that we approve under those circumstances.
Mr. Hall?
I need to make a statement for the record more than anything else. Mr. Martin, you mentioned something about the sewer being part of the bond. That is, the city of Fairview doesn't require anything on the bond issue for the sewer. WADC will
Yeah, that was
require
my
that.
point. This doesn't even include the sewer portion of it, yeah.
Let me add it to it.
Did I hear you say there's no roads in this development?
No, the only thing in the development that would be bonded would be the road. It would be all the work, which includes the road and grading, drainage. There's no
Curbs
site,
and gutters and that?
no, there's no
We don't
curb
have
and
any curb and
gutters.
gutters.
Large lot subdivision, there's no curb and gutters. We had a variance from all of that.
I apologize, I thought I heard you say there was
That's
no
okay.
road, and I just wondered how you got out of it.
I was talking fast, yeah.
But that's certainly within this board's authority to approve it contingent upon Mr. Martin, I believe, and we'll work it out the proper amount of bond. And again, that bond amount being posted before any work begins.
And does that give me the authority then to issue grading permits,
Issue what?
the grading permits?
Once the bond's posted.
Once the bond's posted, but that gives me the authority. to
Once the
do so.
bond's posted, the only difference in this and what you normally would do is that the bond is usually approved at the amount that's here because it's accepted. And they post the bond and then you do your grading permits or whatever. The only difference here is, if they so desire, the planning commission can pass that bond amount, subject to it being determined between Mr. Martin and Will, and posted prior to any work beginning, which would be prior to any grading permits being issued or anything else.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern here is that it can just be worked before the planning commission meeting next time instead of just everything being stalled. You know, if we can, working it through the bond amount, in the interim before the next meeting instead of everything just holding, in a holding pattern before the next meeting. It's just the weather's coming.
Well, there's no reason, I mean, if that's their call, if they want to approve it on that basis, I have no problem with it, but again, that would have to be approved and posted before anything's done.
Okay, so I have motion on the table first. Did I have a second? Okay. I have first and a second. Any other discussion?
I have a question. Did we include, in the motion, did it include the engineer's comments regarding the clarification on C 1.0?
Yeah, it must have been an oversight. We can get that
It
fixed.
did not, you put them in your motion.
I meant to include the engineer's comment.
Matt's the second on that motion. Any other discussion?
I just had a question on the stormwater detention and open space. Who's going to be responsible for maintaining that?
Well, there'll have to be a homeowners association.
Okay. Because that's always a
It
item
won't
for
be the city.
contention, whether it's the city or whether the...
No, it won't be the city.
So that'll show up on the final plat, right? Okay. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify one more time what's happening, just for anybody so the man, our engineer who sets the bond amount is not here to either defend or have a discussion on the amount that he set. So, he'll get with Mr. Martin. If the amount is what the amount is, then that's that. But I just wanted to kind of clarify that again.
And if it's
Yeah, if it's
different,
my-
they'll amend it.
I'm sorry?
If they didn't, then they'll come up with an amount, and that will be the amount of the bond that will be posted.
Yeah, for me, Will sets the bond amounts all the time anyway, so I don't see an issue with him.
No
'cause-
issue as long as it's determined and given to Mr. Hall. I mean, the bond's posted with code, and then they can go.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
And we should have 8.2. Approve the infrastructure part, and we moved from 8.1.
We just flip-flopped them.
We did.
It's all in one. It's all in one. All right, okay. Number 9, reports for discussion and information. Director of Planning Codes, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First, I want to thank Tyler for coming tonight. I'm a big proponent of anybody that wants to learn the process. Tyler, I wish you luck in your endeavors from here on.
Absolutely, sir.
And anytime you want to come back, that's fine with me. You know, I think it'd be fine with the Planning Commission. I think this is a good night to thank both alternates. It's good that we had them here tonight because it's gives us a full board. And I did read today in the Planning Commissioner's Handbook that 9 is the preferred board for planning commissions. You know, I was the one that got that started several years ago to get 9 on the board, not knowing that at the time. But I'm glad to have 9 of y'all up there, and it's good to have y'all tonight. And anyway, y'all did a fantastic job tonight. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cantrell?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The only thing I have to say tonight is, and I don't know if Commissioner Vice Mayor Sutton will be back with us at the next meeting or not. I'm not doing political prognostications, but he very well could get reelected and decide not to sit on the Planning Commission as a representative from the commissioner. That's his call. I just want to say that if that is the case, if he's back, we'll continue to work with him. If we hadn't, if he's not, it's been a pleasure and an honor to work with you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
That's all I have, Mayor. Not Mayor. I looked at your sign there, Madam Chairman.
I know, I usually try to take that down so that people, know that it's, anyway, know that it's me and they, don't think maybe it's Patty or something up here. We're both women. No. It's just, is what it is. I'm just glad the clock's right now. We fell back, so the clock's right at 6.
We caught up.
I know, we caught up. Okay. That's right. Number 10, communication from the Planning Commission members. Mr. Dowdy?
I have nothing further.
Mr. Desjardins, would you like to make a comment again, or?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm just going down the row, so. Mr. Lohman?
Thank everybody. Good job tonight. Tyler, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, sir.
I
Thank
agree
you.
with Mr. Hall. It's always good to have you back anytime you'd like to
And I'm sure I
join
will
in
be.
on the process. And if you haven't voted already, please do tomorrow. That's all I've got.
Mr. Butler?
Nothing to this evening.
Mr. Mangrum?
The only thing I've got is, we really do, and it's probably gonna come from city staff to get these bond amounts out. It'd be nice to have them the day before, so if there is a conflict. I know last month there was a similar, situation where the bond amount just got popped up on the, developer, and he wasn't very happy. I seen that sitting here last month. And it'd be very beneficial if those numbers came out a day ahead of time to let the engineer for the developer look at that if it's ever in question. That's all I have.
Can I ask a question just as a follow-up? There was a time we were getting the reports a day or two earlier, wasn't there? Just recently kind of reverted back to day of. Did something change there? Did we have it set up to where we were getting the reports early?
Yes,
Prior to the day of the meeting?
Yes, we did, at my
Today's a
request.
Monday meeting, so this one's.
Well, that's a good point, yeah. I don't think last month we got the
It's
day
been the
of,
last
and
few
maybe
months.
even the one before that. I'm not really sure. I was just curious what might have changed that prevents us from getting the engineer staff
It's,
sitting.
It's not, unless it's the workload that the engineer has, because I would love to have him at least 2 or 3 days prior myself. And to answer your question, I will push harder the next time for you.
It ain't just for me, I'm just.
For everybody in general, because I know that Mike Blackmore was upset last month also, so. And, he's been here giving, I think, one day last week, we had, the as-bills done for Hardee's, so. Anyway, all I can do is press forward for you. And while I got the floor, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Is this November? Yeah. Oh, shoot. When we meet again, Thanksgiving will be over. Oh, dear. Mr. Sutton?
I just want to tell everybody, I appreciate serving on the board, whether I'm back or not back. I've enjoyed it. I think it's an excellent board. I think we've worked hard to improve some of the things that we've done, and we've changed some different things in the zoning and planning part of for the good. And we've got a long way to go, and it's a difficult job because we're trying to keep up with progress that's moving faster than we can possibly move, I believe. I want to remind everybody to go out and vote tomorrow, and the main reason for that is that if you remember that Friday is also Veterans Day. And I don't think there's a better way we can honor those people than going out and exercising our right to vote that they died for. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Rowe?
I have nothing.
Mr. Bleak?
Nothing.
Mr. Beata?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Same here. I hope everybody goes out and votes tomorrow, or those of us who did it, pre-voted, but early voting. Same as I always say, we have some wonderful businesses out here that provide us with a lot of things that you can choose to keep your money here in Fairview to promote our community. And I just would like to, encourage everyone to do that. And good meeting. I like all the discussion. Thank you for our alternates sitting in and, giving us a full board tonight. Tyler, welcome. And thank you to the staff for the preparation. Do you have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
First and a second. We're adjourned.